Hello, Mr. Vinay. We know that you're a journalist, and we would really like to know a bit about your journey into becoming a journalist and entering this industry.
Thank you so much for the second take. We're starting. Okay. My journey as a journalist has been really great, touch wood. It started on a with a very humble website, and today I am with Bombay Times. And when I was growing up, I always used to read BT. And as a journalist, anybody who's into entertainment journalism can totally vouch for what I say, that we all, some way or the other, always aspire to work in BT.
Yeah.
And it's also been a journey full of learning and unlearning, because I realized that is very important. You have to unlearn a lot of things to learn new things. And that's pretty much been.
Coming to Moses Koul, can you share a little bit about your story and how your career shaped you up? And we know that you're an actor, but we have also heard that you have a passion for music. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you got into music and acting?
Sure. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Moses Koul, and I am absolutely honored to be a part of this TEDxEMWS today. Firstly, I want to say that this is my first time inside a Mumbai school. I am extremely jealous and envious. My school wasn't like this. I'm from Delhi. I studied in a convent school. Okay, there are a few people who relate to that. Oh, it's the faculty, is it? So just a quick update. My journey into this film industry is not more than 1.5 or maybe 1 year, 10 months old. I was in a show called Class on Netflix, and I always consider myself an accidental actor. I have been a musician for far longer than I have been an actor. It just so happened that I was about to go on tour with Arijit Singh. It was a world tour. This was back in February 2020. We got our visas, and the next day, the entire world went into a lockdown. And about 1 month into that lockdown, I got an audition, and this guy, who was as wooden as a cardboard box, that doesn't make sense, as wooden as a table, decided to give an audition, and then I'm here now. My journey has been that I plan only for the week and not beyond that, because I don't know what lies beyond the week. So I feel like keeping it very flexible has worked for me. Maybe it might not be the case for a lot of other people, but I think keeping it flexible and just having as much fun is the key to hopefully my happiness and some other people also.
Yeah, that
Thank you.
absolutely makes sense. Coming to you, Hanna, how did your journey as a lifestyle and beauty influencer start? And was there something particular that pushed you towards this profession?
So my journey began way longer before than it actually did, because fashion is something that is a very important part of my life. I'm someone who wakes up and breathes, eats fashion. I think everyone around me, my family, my friends, they saw it before I did. I was that girl who would always take a picture of my outfit before I would leave the house. A girl that would travel with her parents and have a list of places ready as to where I want to shop, eat, even take photos. I think my friends and family were probably annoyed with this behavior. But at the same point, they saw deep potential, which probably I didn't. I was actually working in my father's family business, and at the time he came up to me and said that, why don't you do something that actually you're passionate about, that means something to you, because he could clearly see that I was probably not as happy, and I had something within me where fashion, as I said, was something I was so passionate about, and he wanted me to do something that would make me feel happy and make a difference to the world.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of girls in our school can relate to this.
I'm sure every girl can.
Yeah.
I feel every girl when she's young loves fashion. But, when we were younger, schools were very different. The atmosphere was very strict. I'm so happy to see that you guys can interact so openly.
Definitely.
And I'm so glad to be here and see that change.
Yes, definitely.
Also love your outfit, by the way.
Thank
it's
you.
Giving.
Coming to you, Vinay, as a journalist, I'm sure you encounter various situations when you are covering a story and there's always like two sides or different perspectives to that one particular story. How do you then find a balance between them?
Oh, mm, I mean, pretty much every story has two sides of it. So even if I'm talking to a couple who's dating each other, the guy will have something else to say, the girl will have something else to say. But to answer your question, it's a very simple thing. You have to be objective. I mean, as a journalist, it's ingrained in me that uh, whatever I report, it has to be without any biases. Sometimes, very rarely, at least at the initial stage of my career, there
Yeah.
used to be times when we would sort of get swayed by, say, someone, like, say, because you're friends with a particular actor and you trust the actor more. So you sort of write their version or you give their version a little more importance than the other version. But over the course of time, I've realized that the only way to sort of do this is be objective and also always ensure that you have both the sides. Uh, like I'm working on a story right now, a very controversial story, and I spoke to one side, and I'm still waiting for the other side to sort of share their responses, and I haven't used the story. It's been 3 days. The other party hasn't really responded,
Yeah.
but I'm still waiting. I'm not in the rush to sort of just put out the story because I'll be the first one to put it out. Um, so that is very there. So you have to, of course, weigh both the sides, and that comes with your experience. And as I think it was a line on a show, or I don't know where, but it's like, if it's raining, if it's day or night outside, and someone says that, hey, it's raining outside, your job is to not write that it's raining or it's not raining. Your job is to like open the window and see whether it's raining or
Yeah.
not. So that's what we do. But at the same time, we also always ensure that both the perspectives are given fair chances, unless and until we see that, okay, the other person doesn't really have merit in what they say. So yeah, it's a
Thank you.
tough path to walk on, but eventually you will have to, because then you also end up losing a lot of your networking. But I would rather be known for my credibility than have clout.
Thank you so much. I think that gives everyone present here a very good insight into how to use your head over your feelings. Moses, you are an actor and a musician, so I'm sure you as well have experienced a bunch of situations where there would be different and conflicting opinions on the career choices that you've made. Have you had to then strike a balance between those conflicting ideas?
Um, I think firstly, art is not a democracy. I think when you are working with a team, there will be certain things that will have to be, or certain opinions or certain takes on certain. So like I said, I don't think it really works in a democratic manner like that. You always have some form of person, like in, say, an orchestra, there's a conductor who is essentially still leading.
Yeah.
So there has to be someone who is making executive decisions, because with art, like most things, there is no right or wrong. There is, like you said, there's a subjective opinion on things, and then you need somebody to take the executive decision. For example, if I'm working with say if I'm working with an Arijit Singh, it'll be his take on certain things will be considered to be the way we're going to go forward as a band. So when I'm working with now an Amit Trivedi, his way of working is very different. Now coming to cinema, when I'm working with Osham Aluwalia or Raj Shrioja, their working is very different, right? So you need to find, I feel, that ability to surrender.
Yeah.
Unless you yourself are the leader, you have to surrender that, okay, this is their vision or this is what we're collectively working towards. I think there is no art without conflict, because that's the only way you can justify what you're doing. I think it's part of the entire package, and I think it's lovely. It's lovely. Sometimes, when you get scolded or somebody calls you really untoward things, I think it's beautiful. I think it really makes you it makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point of doing something without any conflict or any sort of passion for why you're doing it? Yeah.
That's a fresh perspective.
Coming back to Hanna Khan, recently we've seen that you yourself have accomplished to create a brand of yourself. Hannah, have you been a beauty and a fashion blogger? You have been a fashion and a beauty blogger, and there's conflicting ideas about like beauty standards and bloggers setting certain ideals. Have you encountered different opinions about this? And if yes, how do you strike a balance between them?
So I feel being a beauty influencer is a huge responsibility because we have a wide audience from various age groups, cultural backgrounds, shapes, sizes. And I often feel people look at us and think, we're so perfect at all times, which is not true. So I think people need to understand that a lot of our content that's sometimes very professionally shot, edited, has hair, makeup, is also something that we are doing as a job and we're striving for perfection, which is impossible to achieve in your daily life. And I feel that's where, at least speaking for myself, I know that I've struck that balance with my audience in terms of being real. 80% of the time I show up without makeup. I also go to a lot of beauty events, skincare events, wearing minimal or no makeup, which is not very common. But that's how I want people to look at my content and feel empowered, feel confident in their own skin. Yeah. Because when they look at me and they feel that this is unachievable, or if they're having a bad day, and they just come on my page and see me look so perfect, it may not sit well with them. So I want them to come there and look at me as a real person and not just something that exists just on Instagram. So I feel the real me and the Instagram me are very similar too.
That's amazing.
Moses, I have a quick question for you. You recently played the character of Sharan on Class, and I believe that the character was quite complex emotionally. We see him struggle with his sexuality and eventually transcend into a darker character. How do you personally approach playing this character, and how do you feel it relates to real issues you see in the world?
Okay, that's a two-part question. So the first part about how do I figure out how to play this character, I'll be very honest with you. I am a very young and a very how do I say it well, I do not have the experience yet to really tell you how I played it. It was a bit of, what do you call it, workshopping as we went along. Yeah. I don't have a process yet, and I don't want to talk about my process because I feel like it's not fully formed. There's no real value to it. It works for me, maybe it won't even make sense for anybody else. But one thing I had to do was, since he's so different than who I am, Sharan is very different than the person I am, I had to be fully convinced of his actions and his belief in what he was doing, even if it was against my moral and ethical standpoint, whatever you want to call it. That's the first part to it. So I don't think I've yet figured out what makes it work for me, and I think that's why I love acting, because it's mysterious. It's like walking into a room not knowing what the decor is. Do you get a place to sit, or will you have to stand all the time? Will you have water? Will there be cake? I don't know. So it's interesting. That's the first part. Second part about I'm essentially playing a person who is very much a part of society. Look, I don't have the experiences that people who are dealing with their own sexuality or figuring it out or whatever it is. I do not have the experience, so I definitely am not the voice. I can be an ally. I can be like, yes, these people need to be heard. There is, of course, when I was researching the character, I went to my friends, I went to family that have been through these experiences, and I just tried to perhaps learn rather than form an opinion on what it is.
Yeah.
And just being open-minded about it, and bringing those experiences to the fore instead of trying to really be the expert on it, because I'm not. I don't go through it, so I don't know what it's like. So I won't sit on this couch and then give you a sermon on what how you should actually, this is what you should do if you're going through that. No, I haven't been through it. I feel it's very difficult. It's a very, there is, apart from societal pressure, there is a very different sort of discordant feelings that most of my friends have gone through internally, which takes so long for them to come to terms with, because you have been taught it's not the norm.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I draw the line. Beyond this, I am an ally. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to let you speak. I do not have any expert opinion on this.
Yeah.
And that's how I also played the character. I did not try to, firstly, I played the character that was written. I'm not at a place where I can be like, hey, listen, Asham, just change the script, man. I want you to do it this way. No, they'd be like, who are you? You're a newbie. Please, we'll get somebody else in place. But that being said, I just tried to play to the script. If people love the character, then the credit goes to the writers and of course the director. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. As we're, reaching the final minutes of our panel, Vinay, I have a question for you. As a journalist, I'm sure you've come across stories that tend to have professional as well as personal contacts, and it can get quite challenging to then, do your job while maintaining your personal relationships with people. How do you tend to approach situations like this?
Check. Wow, this one's work. Okay, this question hits hard home because that's a dilemma that as a journalist, especially an entertainment journalist, I have sort of struggled a lot with, which is why I have very consciously tried not making actor friends.
Yeah.
As much as tempting as it sounds to sort of be friends with all the actors, all the celebs, I make sure that there's a certain boundary that I sort of have, because then what happens is, as a journalist, then I'm not able to do my work.
Yeah.
I'm not able to do justice to my work. I kid you not. I don't know if anybody knows about my work, but I especially write a lot about celebs, not movies, but celebrities, which involves their personal lives. So whether it's their relationship, whether it's their dating story, or whether it's their wedding story or divorce story. And I, especially if I'm friends, I like in the last almost 6 to 7 months, I have 3 stories of 3 actors who have divorced, but I cannot write it because all 3 of them are very dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And if I go ahead and do the story, I will lose out that friendship and that equation.
Connect, yeah.
And if I don't do that story, I'm not doing justice to my work. Which is, so that dilemma is always there, which is why I've made it very clear that I'm a very social person. I meet people. I try to be as nice and courteous to people, but at the same time, I would want to do my job. Also, what happens is, at times that does help you to sort of, so say for example, if I'm interviewing Alia and I have a better equation with Alia, I can ask her about Ranbir. So that also means that I need to have certain equation with the actor. The actor cannot not know me. So that is, it's again it becomes very difficult for us to sort of find that balance. So how do we do that? It's just we do. And I mean, as I said, there have been so many times, like even now one of my actor friends is broken up, divorced, and I knew the story way back. Now the news is already out, so I'm just telling her that, listen, now do you want to talk about it? The world already knows, so might as well just come and talk about it. But at the same time, I cannot impose, because then she'll be in an awkward situation, because I understand her point of view as well, that she cannot say no to me either.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose these battles, and it absolutely becomes very difficult. So I have decided that, I'd rather, as I said, I'd rather not have the clout and have my job.
Yeah.
That's more important.
Very well said. Thank you so much.
Coming back to Hanna Khan at last, here I would like to understand a little more about you in terms of like perception that the world tends to have of you as a public figure and a blogger, and the Hanna at home, for example.
So like I said even before, I'm someone who aims to keep it super real as much as I can. But at the same time, I feel every one of us should keep some parts of themselves to just themselves. I'm not that person who'll even go up to my best friend or my family and tell them each and everything about my life, because I don't think it's healthy. I think we all should be very confident, comfortable to sit with our own thoughts at times, process them and see how we feel about them. So the same way, I don't run to my Instagram family to vent about things or talk about things that I think at times are too personal. So as much as I strike the balance to be real and be authentic with my content, I also choose to keep some parts of my life to myself. Like I said, I would even in my personal life. But yes, I feel over the last few years, my content has definitely evolved. People now get to see the real me. It's not just photo shoots and poses and everything that's perfect. I also do content that's very real. I come and talk about my day. I come and talk about when I'm even having a bad day. But of course, there has to be a balance between it.
That completely makes sense.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this panel, joining us and giving us your wonderful insights. I'm sure everyone in the audience has come to appreciate them. So thank you once again very much.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having us.
Thank you so much for being such lovely hosts. You've done a good job.
Thank you. We appreciate it.